So as we did last week, if you have any comment, ensure to post it in the chat. Today we want to start a new topic, which is network flow models. If you remember last week, we looked at transportation, transshipment, and assignment problems. We looked at linear programming models, where you could look at how products are moved from one source or several sources to destination points, which could also be several or a single point. Then we looked at transshipment problems where there will be an intermediate destination between the source point and then the delivery point where the items would be received. From transshipment models, we looked also at assignment models, in which case we said that demand from a source and supply from a source is restricted to one. So we looked at how we can assign teams, for instance, of officials to various game venues. So today we are going to start a new topic called network flow models. Network flow models. These are also still solvable within the framework of linear programming. But the solution to network flow models, I actually enjoy it when we use the analytic frame of the model to analyze the problem, or where you use the network flow diagram to solve the problem without the need for developing a formal programming model. So in class today, we would see how to solve some of these network flow models. So what do we want to learn today? First, we'll look at the network components, the components of a network flow model. Then, generally speaking, there are three main types of network flow models. We have the shortest route problem, where you want to find out the shortest road or way to follow in order to reach a particular destination. Then we have the minimal spanning tree problem, where you want to decide as to the minimum amount of material that you can use in order to reduce cost. For instance, when laying pipes, or when laying electrical cables, for instance, how long should that be? And what is the shortest distance that can cover per hour computation? So we would look at these. Then the last part is the maximal flow problem. Now, in the maximal flow problem, you are looking at the flow of material from one point to the other, so that you want to find out what is the maximum that the flow can contain. So for instance, you are looking at a typical example is gas being transported in gas pipes from the West African gas pipeline from Nigeria through to the electrical plants in Ghana. The pipe will have maximum and minimum amount of gas that can flow through it. So we should be able to calculate the maximal flow of gas through the pipeline. The same with water. The water company can calculate the maximum flow of water that is possible through pipelines to various destinations. So all those computations can be done. But for the purposes of this course, we would focus our attention on the shortest route problem and then the minimal spanning tree problem. We will not look at the maximal flow problem, but the material is there. If you, by curiosity, you want to know more, you can have access to the material to get a deeper understanding of the issues. Now, so let's look at the network components. Now, when we talk about a network, we are looking at a situation where we have arrangement of paths. So these paths can also be referred to as branches, connected at various points, and these points of connection are referred to as nodes, through which one or more items move from one point to another. So a network is simply a connection of nodes, or these nodes can be termed as points using branches. Okay? So you are looking at from junction A to junction B. So the junctions are the nodes or the points. Then the distance between junctions is what we call the branches or the paths. Okay? So basically what we are saying is that in a network, there are branches or paths, and there are points or nodes. Okay? And through the paths, through the nodes, through these paths, items can be moved from one point to the other. So usually we draw the network as a diagram so that we can provide a clear picture of how the system looks like and how the system does work. So with the network diagram, you can have a pictorial view and representation of the network so that you can have a better understanding of what is going on within the system. Now, in real life, there are so many situations that can be modeled as a network. And all around us, there are numerous examples of networks, and very soon I would provide some examples. We've seen within management science that networks are becoming more popular, and there are two main reasons explaining the use of networks in management science or data-based decision making. The first reason is that the network is generally represented in the form of a diagram. And we know that generally we say that a picture speaks louder than 1,000 words. So the representation of networks using diagrams have made them more popular because the diagrams enhance understanding of the system and the analytical features of the system. The second reason why networks have become popular is that there are so many real-world examples that are modeled in the form of a network. So for instance, if you are looking at the connection of one community to other communities, it's a network. You require a network of roads. If you look at the connection of water from the generation points to the various households, towns, and communities, you are talking about networks. If you are looking at telecommunication masts being connected all across, you are talking about networks. If you look at television stations and transmissions and all that, satellite communications, you are looking at networks. If you are looking at railways, these are networks. If you are looking at even air travel, it's about networks. So the plethora of real-life examples that support network systems make network very popular in management science. So to reiterate the components of the network, network diagrams consist of nodes and branches. And we did mention that the nodes are the junction points, whereas the branches represent the paths. And the branches are represented by lines which connect one node to the other so that there is a flow. So the branches represent a flow of material, of time, of resources from one node. And the nodes are usually represented by circles to the other. Okay. Now, so 4 nodes are seen in, for instance, figure 7.1. You see that there are 4 nodes there. Node 1, node 2, node 3, and then node 4. So here, we see that Atlanta is node 1. And node 1, for instance, under this example, we see that is the origin. So it means we are moving from Atlanta, and from Atlanta, we can go to Nashville, we can go to Memphis, or we can go to St. Louis. So Atlanta is the origin. Any other point that is shown is regarded as a destination. So if you want to identify a branch, you identify it by its beginning and ending node. So in this case, branch 1, the branch moving from node 1 to node 2 is branch 1, 2. Branch 1, 2. The branch moving from 2 to 4 is branch 2, 4. The branch moving from 1 to 3 is branch 1, 3, and so on and so forth. So that through a branch, several things can happen. So the distance between nodes represented by the branch can be time. It can be cost. It can be distance, and so on and so forth. Okay, so from point 1, that's node 1 to node 2, may be distance. It may be time in hours. It may also be cost, and so on and so forth. So figure 1 is just showing us a network of railroads connecting 2 cities, connecting 4 cities. So how to move from Atlanta to Nashville, from Nashville to St. Louis, from Atlanta to Memphis, and from Memphis to St. Louis. Okay? So these are the components of network diagram. Okay. So let's look at the first category of network flow problems. The first category of network flow problems among the three is called the shortest route problem. The shortest route problem. Here, our aim is to determine the shortest distance between an originating point and several destination points. So from Atlanta, what is the shortest route, for instance, to St. Louis? Do you pass through Nashville before you go to St. Louis, or you pass through Memphis before you go to St. Louis? Which one would be the shortest? Okay. So that is called the shortest route problem. So, and we will illustrate that giving an example. So the Stagecoach Shipping Company transports oranges by 6 trucks from Los Angeles to 6 cities in the West and Midwest. The different routes between Los Angeles and the destination cities and the length of time in hours required by a truck to travel each route are shown in figure 7.2. So in this particular problem, we are dealing with a situation where Stagecoach Shipping Company is transporting oranges by 6 trucks from Los Angeles to 6 cities. So that is shown in this diagram here. So the originating point or the source is Los Angeles. So Los Angeles. Now we want to move the oranges to 6 other cities, namely Salt Lake City, Des Moines, St. Louis, Dallas, and Phoenix, then Denver. Now, you see that there is a network connecting Los Angeles to the 6 cities. So our aim is to ship the oranges to these cities. But there are several roads that lead to each single city. So our aim is to find out the shortest routes from the origin to all the destinations. So for instance, if you want to move from Los Angeles to St. Louis, which road should you follow? Should you move from Los Angeles to Phoenix to Denver to St. Louis, or from Los Angeles to Lake City to Des Moines to now St. Louis, or you move from what? Los Angeles to Phoenix to Dallas and then St. Louis, and so on and so forth. Or if you want to go to Denver, which road should you use? If you want to go to Denver, should you use this route, or you use this route, or you use that route? Which one will be the shortest distance to follow if you are starting from Los Angeles and you are moving to Denver? So that is what this problem, that's the shortest route problem, seeks to solve. Now, you see that there are numbers that are shown on each branch. Okay. So you see that from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City, we have 16. From Los Angeles to Phoenix, we have 9. And from Phoenix to Dallas, we have 22, and so on and so forth. So these numbers can represent the time, depending on the problem you are dealing with. It can represent cost. Again, depending on what you are dealing with, it can represent distance in meters or in whatever measure, and so on and so forth. Okay. So you can then use network flow analysis to determine the shortest route, and we will do that very soon. So this is how we can represent the network. Okay. Now, so we have replaced the destination names with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then the destination names here, Los Angeles, Des Moines, St. Louis, Dallas, etc., etc., are represented by node numbers. Remember, we said the nodes are represented by circles. So we have 7 nodes. 7 nodes. So our task in the shortest route problem is to determine the shortest distance we can move from the origin, which is node 1, to any of the destinations. Okay. So this is how we present the network problem for the shortest route assignment. Okay. So with this, we can now take time to understand how we solve the problem. So you need to pay attention. Actually, network flow problems are very easy to solve. You just need to pay a little understanding, a little attention to how the analysis is done. So we are going to start. So let's see how we solve the problem. Now, remember that our beginning point or origin is node 1. So what we need to first determine from node 1 is which of the nodes is closest to node 1. Which of the nodes is closest to node 1. And you'll find that this is, so we are starting by then seeing all the nodes that are directly connected to node 1. You will see that from node 1 to node 2 is 16. From node 1 to 4 is 35. From node 1 to node 3 is 9. And remember, we are looking for the shortest distance. So you will see that the shortest distance is from what? Node 1 to node 3, which is 9. Okay. So to let you understand, so what we do is that first, once we start from the origin becomes what we call the permanent set. Before you start any analysis, it's called the permanent set, because that is where all nodes end up being connected, or that's where we are moving from to connect to all the nodes from the start. So this becomes the permanent set. And if we then now, so you see that from here, the permanent set is represented by node 1, because we have not yet made any move. Then we look at the branches that are connected to node 1. They are branch what? 1, 2. 1, 2. So this is the branch 1, 2, which is here, which is equal to 16. See that that's the branch value. Then we have branch 1, 4. Branch from 1 to what? 4. You see that that is this branch. And the branch value is 35. So the time is 35. So here the values there are time. The time it will take you to move from from the origin to each of the destinations. So 35. Then branch 1 3. So that is this branch. 1 3. You see that it is what? 9. It is 9. So you will see that among the branches that are connected to 1, to the origin, that's node 1, the one with the least time, remember we are dealing with shortest route, with the least time is branch what? 1 3, with a time of what? 9. So in that case, that branch is what? Selected. So the closest branch to, the closest node or destination to the origin is node 3, okay, with a time of 9. Now, so you will see that in this diagram, we have deepened the branch from 1 to 3, which means that it's been selected. See that this branch is deep compared to the other branches, to show you that from the origin, the shortest community is community 3 or node 3. So once that is selected, then the nodes 1 and 3 will now form the permanent set. Because we say that the permanent set simply represent the nodes for which the shortest route has been found. And we have found the shortest route for what? Node 1 and what? Node 3. So for this time, that is the permanent set. So we now move to the next step, because we want to find the shortest route to each of the nodes. So let's move on. So here, branch 1 3 has been selected. Now, what we now need to do is that we now determine the shortest route among all the nodes that are connected to the permanent set. Remember that the permanent set contains 2 nodes now, 1 and what? 3. Okay, so you look at what are the nodes connected to 1 and 3, and you see that those connected to 1 and 3 are 2, 4, and then what? 6. So if you look at them, which of them has the shortest distance from 1? Among node 2, 4, and 6, which one has the shortest distance? So you see that from 3, from 1 to 3 to 4 will have a different distance. So let's do the analysis systematically. So the branches that are directly connected to the permanent set, first is what? The branch from 1 to 2. And the value from 1 to 2 is 16. So 1 to 2, 16. Now, another branch that is connected to the permanent set, we have 1 to 4. 1 to 4. That one is 35. So see here is 35. Another branch that is directly connected to the permanent set is 1 to, so it's 3 to 1, 3 to 4, 3 to 4, 3 to 4. 3 to 4, you see that it is 24. Why? Because it will be what? 9 plus what? 15. That will give you 24. Then from 3 to 6, 3 to 6 will give you 31, because before you can move from 3 to 6, you must have moved from 1 to 3. So that would be what? 9 plus what? 22, which will give you what? 31. So among the branches, which branch has the least time? You see that is the branch from what? 1 to 2, which has a time of what? 16. So this is selected. Oh, sorry. So the branch 1, 2 is selected. So you see that that one has also been deepened. So this has been deepened. This has also been deepened. So now now we have 3 nodes that form the permanent set. 1, 2, and then what? 3. So what we now need to do is that we now move to the next step and determine for all the nodes that are connected to the new permanent set, which one is having the least time to cover from the origin. So that is what we will do in the next, and it is repeated. The one asking the question is not clear. You are asking why are we not adding 0.1 to 2? Because the initial percent said was 1 to. No, it's not clear. Okay, so if you can come clearly. But you see that from 1 to 2, it is 16. You can't add anything. There's a direct movement from 1 to 2. Unlike from, say, 1 to 6, there is no direct movement. You have to pass through, so you can come again. If you add 1 plus 6, 1 plus 16, but you are not moving from 9 plus 6, you are not moving from 3 to 2. Okay, you are moving from 1 to 2. So focus on the branches. and how the branches are connected to the nodes. So let's move to the next step, where we are going to now have, remember, we now have permanent set consisting of what? Three nodes. Node 1, 2, and then what? 3. So we have redefined the permanent set to contain what? Nodes 1, 2, and what? 3. So what we must now determine is which nodes are directly connected to the permanent set nodes. So all this analysis, we are doing it based on the original diagram. You see here, that's from here. Okay. So you are looking at which nodes are directly connected to 2, 1, and then 3. And you see that the nodes that are connected to them are 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, 5. So we're talking about direct connection. 3, 3, 4, and then what? 3, 6. Okay. So you see them here, the nodes that are directly connected. So you see them, which I pointed out in the previous slide that I showed. Okay. So once again, among them, you look at which one of them has the least time to cover. So we start with them one by one. So we have what? The branch 1, 4. Branch 1, 4 is what? 35. So 1, 4, 35. Then from 2 to 4, 2, 4. We'll have what? So that one, remember, is not direct from 1. So you have to move from what? 1 to 2, from 2 to now 4. So it means you have to add what? 16 to what? 12. So that will give you 28. So that branch is taking a time of 28. Then we look at the distance from 2 to 5. 2 to 5. That one also is not direct from 1. So you have to move from 1 to 2 and from 2 to what? 5. So you have to add this 16 to what? 25, which will give you what? 41. Okay. So we now have the other branch from 3 to 4. 3 to 4 is not also direct from 1. So you have to add what? 9 to what? 15, which will give you 24. So that branch is having a time of 24. Then you have also from 3 to 6. That branch from 3 to 6 is not direct from what? 1. So you have to see, you have to move from 1 to 3 before you move from 3 to what? 6. So you have to add this 9 to what? The 22. And that gives you what? 31. So among them, the connection with the least time is what? The one from what? 2 to 4. Sorry, the one from 3 to 4. Because it has a time of 24. From 3 to 4. The time is 24. So that one is chosen. Okay. So if that is chosen, you will see that. So let me erase. Then, therefore, what we are saying is that if you are at 1 and you want to go to 4, the shortest way to get there is to move from 1 to 3 to 4. If you move directly from 1 to 4, you will spend more time. If you also decide to move from 1 to 2 and then to 4, you will spend more time. And that's basically what we just did. Okay, we are showing you the shortest route to various destinations. Now with this, it means that our permanent set has expanded. Because, so you would see that the branch from 3 to 4 is also now deepened. Which means we have solved that problem also. So we have to redefine our permanent set. So our permanent set now contains what? 1, 2, 3, and what? 4. So we now look at all nodes that are connected directly to the permanent set. And then now analyze the shortest route among these nodes connected to the new permanent set. Then we'll continue doing that until we get all the points connected with the shortest route. Now, so our permanent set is redefined, as I indicated, to now contain 1, 2, 3, up to 4. So let's look at those that are directly connected to them, which have not yet been analyzed yet. So you see that 2 to 5, 4 to 5, 4 to 7, 4 to 6. These are the remaining ones. And you see that we are left with 3 destinations to connect. Okay, so once we connect these 3 destinations, our job is done. So let's analyze them systematically. So first 2 to 5. What will be the time travel? You see that it will be what? 25 plus what? 16, which is what? 41. So that branch is 41. Then we can also have from 4 to 5. 4 to 5. So from 4 to 5, that branch is what? 9 plus 15 plus what? 14, which is 38. Then we also have 4 to 7, which will be 9 plus 15 plus what? 19, which is 43. Then we also have 4 to 6, which will be 9 plus 15 plus 17, which will give us what? 41. Then we also have from 3 to 6, which will give us 9 plus what? 22, which is equal to 31. So among them, which one is the least? We see that is the movement from what? 3 to 6. That is the least. So with a time of 31. Okay. So it means that node 6 has also been what? Determined. We have determined node 6. So which means that our permanent set has to be redefined to include node 6. So you see the distance between node 3 and 6 is also now deepened. The branch is now thicker and deepened. Okay. Now, we are left with only 2 unconnected nodes. So the next thing is for us to determine all the nodes that are directly connected to the new permanent set. And you will see that, so you determine that from here. As I indicated, all of them start from here. So the new permanent set, let me erase and we see it clearly. The nodes that are directly connected are 2, 5, 4, 5, 4, 7, and then 6, 7. So what we need to do is to find among these which one has the shortest time. Those that lead to the connection of the unconnected points, which are 5 and 7. So it's the same analytical framework that we use. Yeah. So if we look at the ones that are directly connected to the permanent set, first we have a 2, 5. That will give us 16 plus 25, which is 41 for that branch. Then 4, 5 will give us 9 plus 15 plus what? 14, which is 38. The next connection is 4, 7, which will give us 9 plus 15 plus 19, which is 43. And then the last one is 6, 7, which will give us 9 plus 22 plus 14, which is 45. Among them, the least is branch 4, 5. So you see that 4, 5 is also deepened, which means that we now have 5 now added to the permanent set. 5 is added to the permanent set. We are left with only destination 7 to connect. We have connected 1 up to 6. We are left with the last destination, which is 7. So what we then need to do is to redefine our permanent set to now include 5, because we have determined 5. So you see here, 5 is now added to the permanent set. So we now look at how do we go to 7? You can go to 7 from what? Branch 5, 7, 4, 7, 6, 7. So we now estimate them and see which one has the smallest time. So we'll see that from 5, 7, if we are moving from 5 to 7, it will be 46. Okay, so that will be 8 plus 4 plus 15 plus 9. Okay, then from 4 to 7, 4 to 7 will be 9 plus 15 plus 19, which will give us 43. Then 6 to 7. 6 to 7 will give us what? 9 plus 22 plus 14, which will give us 45. So among them, you see that it is branch 4, 7 that has a list, which is 43. So that branch is also now deepened. And if you look at the deepened branches, they show you the shortest route resolution of the problem. If you compare, so this is our final diagram. So look at where we started from. This is the original diagram with so many connections. But with the analysis, we have been able to delete some of the network branches because they are giving us longer time travel. So through the network analysis, we have managed to reduce it to this more tractable diagram. Okay. So what it means is that the shortest route to, for instance, 7 will take us a time of 43. And that will be by moving from 1 to 3 to 4 and then to 7. If we don't use this particular route and we use any other route in the network, the time will be more than 43. That's basically what we are saying. The same thing, if you want to come to 5, it will take you a time of 38. But that will be if you move from 1 to 3 through 4 and then to 5. Rather than moving from 1 to 2 and then from 2 you now want to go to 5. You will spend more time. So you will see that network problems will therefore find very practical relevance in life, as we've done for this particular company that is transporting oranges from Los Angeles to various cities. So this is a diagram, this is a table representing how we have solved it. See that the origin is Los Angeles. The route will tell you the branch, then the total time that you travel. So if you are moving, if a truck is moving from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City, then the recommended route is for it to follow what? Node 1 to 2, the branch 1, 2. And it will take 16 hours. And that's the minimum time that can be used. If we have to go to Phoenix, we have to move from node 1 to node 3, so on branch 1, 3. And it will take us 9 hours. If we want to move from Los Angeles to Des Moines, then we have to pass through node 3, which is Phoenix, and node 4, which is Denver. And then we can now arrive at Des Moines. And it will take us 38 minutes, 38 hours. And so on and so forth. Okay. So a summary of how the problem is solved. So first, you select the node with the shortest direct route from the origin. Then you establish a permanent set with the origin node. and the node that was selected in step 1. Then you determine all nodes directly connected to the permanent set nodes. Then step 4, you select the node with the shortest route from the group of nodes directly connected to the permanent set nodes. Then you repeat steps 3 and 4 until all the nodes are connected to the permanent set. Then you know that the problem has been resolved. Okay. So this is how systematically you can analyze and solve the shortest root problem. Okay. Now, you can also use QM for Windows to solve the shortest root problem. And I shared with you yesterday Exhibit 7.1. You can use that to solve the problem. And if you look at the diagram, the table presented here, you will see that if we are moving from Los Angeles to St. Louis, the total distance is 43 hours. And it is telling us from Los Angeles to Phoenix, for instance, is 9 hours. Los Angeles and from Phoenix to Denver, 15. And from Denver to St. Louis, 19. So if you want to move from Los Angeles to St. Louis, you must pass through what? Phoenix and Denver. So if you add the cumulative time, then you get 43. Now, if you look at, if you are using QM for Windows, you can always select from one destination node to the other, and it will give you the results. When you analyze it, it doesn't just give you the results for all of them at a go. You have to tell it the destination and then the origin, and it will be provided. So I shared with you yesterday with your own, at your personal level, you can also attempt to solve it. So if you open the QM for Windows and follow the module tree, you will see network. And you see minimum spanning tree, shortest route, and then maximal flow. We are dealing with shortest route, so you can click on it Now, so you yourself can, depending on the problem, you just need to indicate the number of branches. So suppose you have 6 branches, you indicate. If you have 10 branches, 7 branches, so it will open up and you will enter the branches and it will do the calculation for you. Okay, so you can enter them here with the distance. So, but I already shared, so this one is already entered and I shared with you, that's a 7.1. So I'm opening it up. So this is what we are dealing with. You see that at the top, you see origin. Origin, you see 1. Then destination, you see 7. So if I run this, it will give me the shortest route from node 1 to 7. So let me solve it and you see, solve. So it tells me the total distance will be 43. Then I have to move from Los Angeles to Phoenix, Phoenix to Denver, and Denver to St. Louis. Okay, which is what I showed you previously. Now, if I want to know how know the solution from 1 to 5, then I can go back and then change the destination to 5. See that I've changed the destination to 5. So I can say solve. And it is telling me that for 5, I will, from 1 to 5, it means that I have to move from Los Angeles to Phoenix, from Phoenix to Denver before I get to my destination 5, which is Des Moines. From Phoenix to Denver, and then from Denver to Des Moines. So, and I will spend 38 hours. Okay. So, and so that is, if you want to now do for any branch, just change it. So to 6, I run again. It will give me the solution for 6. Okay. If I go back to, and I change it to say 3, it will also give me the solution, and so on and so forth. So it's quite easy to do both the computer and even the mechanical analysis. I actually, for this problem, I actually prefer the mechanical analysis to the computer solution. It's more interesting. And I will expect you to ready yourself to do same during the exam. And this should be a cocoa for you. Mr. iPhone, I disagree with you. The computer one is not is not easier than the mechanical analysis. I think the mechanical one is easier. Okay. All right. So let's see what is next. Now, so you said the computer one was easy because probably you didn't know that there has to be an underlying model. Okay. So for instance, if we want to do the analysis, uh, for instance, with the Excel solver, we have to set up the model properly. And uh, this is what we are trying to uncover. Now, for the solver, we go through the linear programming model setup that we've done before. Okay. And we formulate it as an integer problem. Remember, 2 weeks ago, we did integer programming. So you can look at it as an integer problem. So that if you formulate a 0-1 integer programming problem, such that you can look at if a branch is selected, it is 1. If it is not selected, it is 0, and so on and so forth. So, and because this is a shortest route, it means that it's a minimization problem. So, what it means is that we are minimizing the total time that will travel across all the nodes. So, we minimize the total time. So, that is what the objective function is all about. We will always find the shortest route. For the shortest route, we will always find it, Solomon. Unless the problem is not properly defined, we will always find the shortest route. Somebody is saying I should go over the QM. For the QM, I think is quite straightforward. As I indicated, if you open the QM for Windows, you look for networks. So networks here. And then you choose which network problem. We choose shortest route. You define the number of branches. So, for instance, 7. You can enter the branch names, the node numbers, both the start and end nodes, and the distance. But with the example that we are providing, I've given you the file containing Exhibit 7.1, which I opened. And you can open that up and then select your origin, which is 1, and then destination. Any destination you want the shortest route to, you can choose. And in this case, you see that origin is 1, destination is 7. So if we want the shortest route from 1 to 7, we just solve it. Okay. If you want shortest route from 1 to 6, you change 7 to 6 and solve, and so on and so forth. Okay. So that should not be a problem. So we can progress to look at the linear programming way of dealing with that. So I said we can look at it from the perspective of a minimization problem. So we are minimizing the total time. So this is what we are minimizing. That's from the start. So here, we see that all are covered in that. So we are in the minimization problem, just like we've done in linear programming. So 1, 2, from 1, 4, 1, 3, then 2, 5, 2, 4, 3, 4, 3, 6, then 4, 5, 4, 7, 4, 6. Then we have what? 5, 7, and so on, and 6, 7, and so on and so forth. So that's what you see here. Then we usually say that whatever goes to a particular node will have to come out. Okay, so then we can say that if we move from node 1 to node 2, we can also move from node 2 to say node 4, and so on and so forth, depending on the connections within the network. So if we go back to the beginning of the problem, you see that we were trying to see the shortest distance from the origin. If we want to formulate it as an integer, 0, 1 integer problem, what it means is that among node 2, 4, and 3 that are directly connected to node 1, only one of them can be selected. Which means that from node 1 to 2, node 1 to 4, and node 1 to 3, only one will be selected, and we selected 1, 3. So that is what we are representing in the first constraint. Node 1 to 2, node 1 to 3, node 1 to 4, only one can be selected. So each node, there will be a constraint. So then on each node, you see that whatever, so for instance, if you take from 1 to 2, sorry, if you take from point 2, if you look at the diagram, you can, once you move from 1 to 2, from 2, you can move to 4. So you see 2, 4. And from 2 again, you can move to 5 from that diagram. So this represents the constraint on node 2. This on node 3, node 4, node 5, node 6. Then node 7. You see that node 7 and node 1 are unique because nothing flows to node 1 and nothing flows out of node 7. Because node 7 is the endpoint. So that's why you see them respectively being equal to 1. So this for node 1, from node 1, and this is what? 7. That's the last one. And you will see this is quite long. Why? Because if you check node 4, you have connections from 1 to, let's go back to the diagram, you see it clearly. You see that the connections to node 4 are from 1, 4, 2, 4, and then what? 3, 4. Only one of them will be optimal connection to node 4. So what flows to node 4? Node 4 also gives out connected to 5, connected to 7, connected to 6. So that's why you see that one to be long. What goes in there must be equal to what goes out there. So 1, 2, 3 goes to node 4. Node 4 moves to 4, 5, and 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So basically, that is how you specify the model. Then in terms of the analysis, the setup is the same. And I've given you exhibit 7.3. Let me see. Can get it. All right, so we have it here. So you see that the data is well set out. So just to save time, once you open, you can go to data with your solver, and then you can solve it. And you see under select branch, the branches that are selected, the ones you remember is a 0, 1, problem, you see where you see 1 and the select branch, it means that that branch is selected. So it means we are selecting branch 1, 2, sorry, 1, 3. Then we are selecting branch 3, 4, and we are selecting branch what? 4, 7, which was the same thing that we had with the QM for Windows and also with the mechanical analysis that we did. Okay. So you can also, just to show you that you can also use QM for Windows and then the solver to do the same thing. You can go through that using the example files, the copy of the exhibit 7.3, which I gave you. But lastly, let's look at the last part of network flow, that examples that we will examine in this particular course. Minimal spanning tree problem. Minimal spanning tree problem. So under the constraints, I told you that if you take, so for instance, so let me come here. You want to understand why some are negative, some are positive. Those that are positive are those that are flowing to the destinations. Those that are negative are those that are flowing out of the destinations or the nodes. So if you take, for instance, the first one is positive because we are moving from 1 to 2, from 1 to 3, and from 1 to 4. So what goes from the origin to the destination nodes becomes what? Positive. That's a flow into it. Then a flow out of the destinations are then the negatives that you see. So we say that what flows in must be equal to what flows out. Okay. All right. Don't have much time again, but I would want us to finalize looking at the minimal spanning tree problem. Now, the minimal spanning tree problem is aimed at connecting nodes in a network so that the total length of the branches will be minimized. In other words, we want to look at the situation where within the network, if we consider the network connections as, for instance, lines or ropes, how do we ensure that the rope that is connecting the network nodes is the shortest? At the same time, all the nodes are well connected. So you see that there is a lot of, there's some similarity between the minimal span and then the shortest route. The only thing is that within the minimal span, our objective is to ensure that the stretch of connections is the minimum. And all the connections, that is, if we stretch the connections across all the nodes, what will be the shortest in terms of the span? So let's look at this example. So the Metro Cable Television Company is to install a television cable system in a community consisting of 7 suburbs. Each of the suburbs must be connected to the main cable system. The cable television company wants to lay out the main cable network in a way that will minimize the total length of cable that must be installed. So this is a television company, a cable television company that wants to lay cables, but it wants to use the smallest quantity of cables possible because resources are scarce and limited. So suppose that the paths that are available for connecting these communities using the cables, and the cables, the paths are measured in thousands of feet. Thousands of feet. So they are represented similar to the one that we dealt with. So this time we are dealing with cable network in thousands of feet. The problem that we need to deal with is to connect all nodes in the network so that the total of the branch lengths are minimized. The total of the branch length. So the nodes are suburbs in the community. So how do we solve the problem? So this one, you can start with any node within the network. It will not change the solution. Okay? So start with any node in the network and select the closest node to join the spanning tree. So for the sake of this class, we will start from, say, node 1. Let's say we are starting from node 1. Now, so from node 1, we ask ourselves, what is the closest distance? You see that the closest distance from node 1 is what? It's 3, which will take 9,000 9,000 feet. So that is determined. So it means that the first connection we can do is from what? 1 to 3. Combine the first suburb to the third suburb. So what do we do next? So second, we now select the closest node that is not presently in the spanning area. Remember, because we connected 1 and 2, this is the spanning area. So we now have to select the closest node to the spanning area. So here, what node is closest to the spanning area? That is 1, 3. You see that the nodes that are close to the spanning area are 1 to 2, which is 16, 1 to 4, which is 35, 3 to 4, which is 15, and then 3 to 6, which is 22. So the closest you see, the least among them is what? 3 to 4. So we connect that one as well. So we see 3 to. So our new spanning area is now then this. Okay. So this is our new spanning area. So here again, you then ask yourself, with the new spanning area with nodes 1, 2, 1, 3, and 4, which one is not currently connected, but is the closest? You see that among them, so from here, among them, the closest is what? 2 to 4 to 2 with 12. The rest are bigger. So you see that unlike in the case of the shortest route, where when we are doing the thing, we have to, like in this particular case, when we are moving to 4, we have to come and add 9 to 15. In this particular case, you are just looking for the nearest connecting to the spanning area. Okay. So it's from 4 to 2. So the spanning area then is now, so this is the spanning area now. So you then ask yourself, which area that is not currently connected has the least distance? You see that it will be from what? From 4 to what? 5. So the spanning area now includes 5. So you ask yourself, with the spanning area now including 5, which is the shortest distance from the spanning area and is not currently connected? You see that it's from 5 to what? 8. So 5 to 7. Then you see that only one community has not been connected, which is one suburb in the community has not been connected. which is 6. So which is the shortest route to 6, which has not yet been connected? You see that it is what? From 7 to 6. So you will see that the shortest way to connect them is then to connect from 1 to 3, from 3 to 4, and from 4, you can connect to 2 and also connect to 5. From 5, you connect straight to 7, and from 7, you now come to 6. So this solution tells us the total, uh, the minimum total cable length that we can cover. So if you want to know the total distance that will be covered, it means you simply have to add 9 to what? 15 to what? 12 to what? 14 to 8, and then to what? 14. So that is how, and that will give you 72. So it means it will take you a minimum of 72,000 feet of cable length to connect the communities. Now, if you did not do this calculation, you would have just connected the communities haphazardly, and you end up using more cable length than required. So solutions of this nature help you to save money and valuable resources for that matter. Okay. Okay. So a summary of the solution again: select any starting node. And by convention, most people start from node 1, but you can start from any node. Select the node closest to the starting node to join the spanning tree. Then you select the closest node not currently in the spanning tree. And then you repeat step 3 until all nodes have joined the spanning tree. I've shared with you Exhibit 7.6. So, and then I think I've answered your question. I've told you that you can start at any point, but by convention, most people start from node 1. Okay. Francisca, can I go over the spanning area from 2 to 4? Yes, I can. You see that we were able to, just a moment. We were able to get the distance from 1 to 3, and then from 3 to 4. So you are now, from here, you are now looking at the closest location that is not yet connected. So among the nodes not yet connected, or the communities not yet connected, the suburb not yet connected to the cable network, which one is shortest? So if you look at all the numbers, you see that the 12 is the least among those that are not yet connected. So that is why we choose from 4 to 2, because it's 12,000 feet. And from there again, you look at among all the other nodes not yet connected, which one is closest to the spanning tree. And you see from here is 4 to what? 5. Then from 5 to 7, and then 7 to 6. Okay. Hope that helps. Now, if you look at Exhibit 7.6, it shows you how you can solve the minimum spanning tree problem. And if you open your QM for Windows, you go to Networks and choose minimum spanning tree. You can select the number of branches. So for instance, if it's 7 branches, you select 7 and you click OK. The template will be provided for you to enter. Okay, so I've already provided you an entered one, so you can open it. So this is what we are dealing with the cable television company. So you can solve it as usual and look at the solution carefully. You see the branch name. You see the node from node 1 to node, for instance, node from the start node and the end node. Then the cost. Here, the cost talks about distance. Okay. Then you see include y. The y, wherever you see the y, it means that that node is to be included. It means yes. The y is yes. So it means that we'll include 1 3, which will cost us 9,000 meters. We will not include 1 4, because there's no yes there. We'll include 2 4, 3 4, and so on and so forth. And the total length will be 72,000. 72,000 feet. Okay, so that is how you solve problems of this nature. All right. Yeah. So any question? The next, I told you there are 3 categories of the network. The last part is the maximal flow, but we are not going to look into that except beyond the definition. We will not look into that. You see that in the minimum span and then the shortest route, we did not constrain the volume that can be carried through the network. So if you are dealing with a pipeline, for instance, the pipeline may have a carrying capacity, or sometimes through a road there may be traffic on one road, or sometimes a road may have some restrictions and all that. Those ones are dealt with under maximal flow problem. Okay, so for instance, flow of water, gas, or oil through a network of pipelines, flow of forms through a paper processing system, flow of traffic through a road network, flow of products through a production line system. Those ones can be analyzed using maximal flow, but or not go into that. But if you are curious, you can look into that. Now, basically, we are done with the topics that we wanted to treat for this particular course. So thank you for the cooperation that you have provided throughout the course. Now, regarding the exam, if you follow those of you who have already looked at the past question, it will not be much different. So you see that the first question is compulsory. Okay, so the first question is compulsory. Then you answer any other three in section B. You see some of the things that we did today are there. These are outputs. So you can see that, for instance, this one, we did the analysis in class, for instance, where we talked about allowable increase, allowable decrease, and all those things and all that. Yeah. So the past question will give you a guide as to what should you should expect. But just as I don't like students soliciting things from me, please. I don't enjoy that. You will not allow me to speak. You are just typing things that are not please. So as I said, the format is the same as that of the last year. So you can look at the past question. Then I've given you assignments. So take the assignment seriously. So if you see the assignments in exam, don't say we didn't do it. So make sure that you personally understand the assignments that are provided. Now, so assignments, I've given you group assignments. I've also given you individual assignment. So don't take anything for granted. Then, if you go through uh, the notes, some of them some items do not require calculation, some require calculation. So what I'm going to do is to give you some set of questions to practice later on. At least by next week, it should be out. If it is required that we meet for next week, I'll let you know within the week. But if it's not necessary, I will not let you, I'll give you any information. But what I'm saying is that I'll give you some practice questions. You go through them, and